Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the new powertrains for the Tacoma and 4Runner because, well, we've got some updated information. Before we get into this video, though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below, and if you want to see more content just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post these videos every single day. Let's get into it. So to quickly get all of you up to date, it looks like Toyota is going to release a new 4Runner and Tacoma for the 2024 or potentially the 2025 model year, depending on how far things get delayed. And this new Tacoma and 4Runner are going to share quite a bit, just like the Tacoma and 4Runner have pretty much always done. So I mean, right now, obviously, there are some key differences. Like, for example, with the 4Runner, you have a 4-liter V6, and the Tacoma, you have a 3.5-liter V6 or a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that you can get with it. So some engine differences, but ultimately, you know, they've always been pretty similar, and that is going to continue into the future with this new generation. And so both of the vehicles are going to have completely new exterior styling and new interiors. These interiors are going to match what you guys have already seen with the new Tundra and Sequoia, just kind of miniaturized work with the 4Runner and Tacoma. And the same thing with the exterior styling. They're going to have a lot of carryover from both of those vehicles. But the thing that we have been talking about the most is the powertrain, because this is what sells Toyotas, is the powertrain, right? Because people care about, you know, how much power it produces and, more importantly, how reliable it is. And this is where things get interesting, because the base powertrain for the 4Runner and the Tacoma is going to be a turbocharged 2.4-liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. That is a huge departure from what they have right now, because, and again, in the Tacoma, you can get a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder or a naturally aspirated V6, and in the 4Runner, you can only get a naturally aspirated V6. And so they're going from that to a turbocharged 4-cylinder. I mean, that is completely different. And if you guys don't believe me on this, I mean, look at what Toyota did with their engine that they put in the Tundra. They first debuted that engine in the Lexus LS 500. It was a turbocharged 3.5-liter V6 that was in that car for a few years. And then once they, you know, basically worked out all the kinks and everything, they threw it over into the Toyota lineup. We now have that engine in the Tundra and in the Sequoia. Well, if you look at Lexus's lineup, we have a turbocharged 2.4-liter 4-cylinder that is in the Lexus NX, and it's already made its way over to Toyota. You can buy a 2023 Toyota Highlander with that engine already. And so, like, if you needed more proof, like, it's already out there. So this is what the base engine is, and this is what we've already talked about in the previous videos. But we've also talked about the fact that there's going to be a hybrid, because Toyota says that they want every single one of their vehicles to have some sort of hybrid option by 2024, 2025. And well, with these vehicles being released for the 2024, 2025 model year, that means that they're going to be released with hybrid options. And that makes quite a bit of sense, because again, with the new Tundra, you can either get the twin turbo V6 standalone, or you can get it with the hybrid. And the new Sequoia, you can only get that with the hybrid twin turbo V6. And this leads us right into the hybrid powertrain that'll be dumped into the 4Runner and the Tacoma. So if you guys have been watching YouTube reviews recently, you've probably seen some reviews on the new Lexus RX 500H. And this is a very important vehicle, because this is the vehicle that is testing out the hybrid powertrain that'll go in the Tacoma and the 4Runner. It's a turbocharged 2.4-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, in the RX, fuel economy is 27 around town and then 28 on the highway. And then power outputs 366 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. And if you're wondering, it has 2 electric motors. And so it's a pretty solid setup. Now, obviously, in Tacoma and 4Runner format, especially with off-road tires and everything, fuel economy is not going to be that good. I would expect it to be somewhere in the low 20s instead of being in the high 20s for the average. But I mean, those are still really solid power figures for that segment, because if you look at most SUVs in the 4Runner segment and then most trucks in the Tacoma segment, the midsize truck segment, you're looking at vehicles that typically have somewhere from about 280 horsepower to maybe like 310, 320 horsepower. Yes, there are some vehicles that have more, but that's the standard. And so with this hybrid powertrain, it is just completely leapfrogging that, and it's also going to be something that's extremely efficient. And so I'm actually really excited. Now, the one thing that does confuse me about this powertrain is the fact that they're using a 6-speed automatic instead of the 8-speed that is in the Lexus NX. But I'm sure the reason that Toyota is doing that is, reliability, right? Because that is always something that Toyota is worried about. And then also, it's probably just more efficient with the 6-speed versus with the 8-speed because of the hybrid system. There are a lot of things that change when you go from just having a regular internal combustion engine car to a hybrid vehicle. And so sometimes more gears is not always the best route to go for efficiency with hybrids, which it's kind of one of the strange things with engineering when it comes to cars. That leads us into an interesting question, and the question is, will Toyota only put the hybrid powertrain in the 4Runner? Because with the Sequoia, you can only get that with a hybrid powertrain, and I actually don't foresee that happening because the Sequoia and the Tundra are a lot different than the Tacoma and the 4Runner. They're significantly more expensive, and especially the Sequoia. And so you look at the people that are purchasing a Sequoia, and they're okay with spending a few extra $1,000s associated with the hybrid powertrain versus the buyers for Tacomas and 4Runners. Now, they're not exactly like super cheap vehicles, but you can spec them out to be a lot more affordable. And so Toyota knows this, and so they're pretty much surely going to offer both powertrains with both vehicles. And so, base 4Runner and base Tacoma, 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. And then on some of the higher up packages, right, the hybrid powertrain will be standard, or it'll be an option you can add, again, just like the Tundra. I think the Tundra is pretty much what Toyota is going to do with the 4Runner and the Tacoma. So like Tier D Pros with both those vehicles, the Tacoma and the 4Runner, those will have the hybrid powertrain as standard. But then, if you get something like a lower down, like middle line package, just like on the Tundra, you can add it if you want, but again, it's not going to be standard equipment. Now, in terms of my thoughts on this new powertrain, I'm actually pretty excited for it because I've had the chance to test the new Lexus NX and the new Toyota Highlander with the turbocharged 2.4 liter 4-cylinder, and I actually like the engine. It is a little bit noisy and it doesn't necessarily make the best noises, but it's slightly more efficient than what we have currently. And Toyota's been working on the engine for quite some time, and so we know that it's going to be reliable. Now, is it going to be as reliable as the 3.5 V6 or as the 4.0 V6? Time will tell. We'll just have to see. But the efficiency is definitely going to be there, and the power is also going to be there. And then when it comes to hybrid powertrain, well, I haven't had a chance to test that out quite yet. Once I'm able to review a Lexus RX 500H, I'll be able to give you guys a better idea of how that powertrain performs. But I mean, with the power figures that has, and with what I've experienced with Toyota's hybrids in the past, I'm actually pretty optimistic overall that it's going to be a really strong powertrain. And I think that off-road enthusiasts are really going to appreciate it with the the Tier D Pro packages with both of the vehicles, because you're going to be able to get better fuel range with that hybrid powertrain. So you're going to be able to spend more time out in the wilderness. And when you have a system with 2 electric motors, that means that you're going to be able to control those like crawling situations a lot better than what you have currently. Now, the current setup, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, like especially in the 4Runner, that 4-liter V6. And I know this because I own one. It's really good off-road because of the torque you get, but I can just imagine like having a setup where you get instant power from electric motors, and then you've got that turbocharged engine to really feed in more torque to the system. I mean, that's off-roading at its finest, I suppose. But that's going to sum things up. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this whole powertrain situation. Do you think that Toyota is making a mistake by going into the turbocharged world with all of their vehicles, and then also going into the hybrid world? Do you think that they should just stick with the turbocharged engines and not add a hybrid component? Or do you think that they should instead add a hybrid component to the naturally aspirated engines they have currently? Like maybe take the 4Runner's naturally aspirated 4-liter V6 and throw a hybrid system to it. We all know that's never going to happen, but you guys can at least talk about it. I'll see ya.